There, we're live. Hey guys, welcome into another edition of Make Every Second Count Live. I'm your host, the international Make Every Second Count speaker, Jeff Marconette Jr., and I'm here tonight with my guest, Dr. Ruben West. And if you would like to add any more, you can go ahead and do that.
Yes. And so right now, Jeff, we're live. What I'm going to do is I have my phone right there, and I'm going to share this message. I'm going to invite some people to this message. I'm going to send it out and share it. And if you're watching right now, I'm going to ask you to do the same thing. I'm going to ask you to hit that share button if you're on Facebook Live and share it on your page and invite some people to it, because I believe that what we share tonight is absolutely going to change somebody's life and is going to set them up to win in 2020. So as I share this in Messenger and I share it with the people that I know, I'm going to ask that you do the exact same thing. So I'm going to just send it to a few people and send it out. And I'm going to ask you to do the same thing.
Yeah. I'm inviting some people right now, so.
I love it. Well, this is going to be a good show, Jeff, and I thank you for allowing me to be a part of it.
No,
this means a lot.
I thank you for wanting to be a part of it.
Well, and believe me, I do. You have an amazing story, and you've lived an amazing life since this event. And for those who don't know it, Jeff Marconette Jr. was in an automobile accident. We're going to get to the details of that, but this is literally the anniversary of the accident. So, Jeff, tell them how many years has it been since your accident?
It has been 18 years, and I actually brought along a picture here that you guys can hopefully see of my car.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes, I see it.
All right, cool.
I see it.
All right, awesome.
Well, we have some people watching live, and I just want to give a quick shout out. We have Roland, who's watching live, Roland Manning from Dublin, Ohio. Thank you for tuning in. Patrick Artis from, I think it's Maryland. Thank you for tuning in. Brenda Ringwood is tuned in. Thank you. Christine Kozacek, World Civility Ambassador from Charlotte, North Carolina. She's tuned in. Greg Dillon from Evansville, Indiana. I mean, he's tuned in. Thank you, Greg. Dr. Randolph Brooks. Tim Tolliver's watching. That's one of my friends from way back. We're down like 4 flat tires. Thank you for tuning in. Kim Schimmel from Topeka, Kansas. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you. Dr. Tracy Ward, the I Am Enough expert. We appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in. Cherie Hubbard, thank you for tuning in. Here's what I know. The information that we're going to share tonight is going to absolutely change somebody's life, and it's going to set them up for 2020. Now, I'm on Jeff's show, and this is the Make Every Second Count show. And usually when I'm on the show or he has guests on the show, Jeff is interviewing the guests. But tonight is different. But tonight he asked me, Ruben, would you be a guest on my show, the anniversary show, the anniversary of my automobile accident? And I said, Jeff, I would love to be on the show, but instead of you interviewing me, I want the privilege of interviewing you. And so we flipped the script today. I know it's usually his show, and he's telling everybody to make every second count. But tonight I'm interviewing Jeff Marconette Jr. So here's what I want you to do. Do me a favor, if you're listening live right now, I want you to post your first name, your last name, and tell us where you're listening from. Listen to that again. Your first name, your last name, and tell us where you're listening from. I want to give a few more people some shout outs. So I see Betty Speaks from South Carolina. Thank you for tuning in, Betty Speaks, Dr. Betty Speaks. I appreciate you tuning in. Gene Casiano, thank you for tuning in. Mike Freeland from Lawrence, Kansas. He's also known as DJ Mike J. He's one of the baddest DJs in the land. Thank you for tuning in, DJ Mike J. Tara Wallace from Topeka, Kansas. Thank you for tuning in. I mean, we have so many people on the line, and periodically we're going to come back to you. But do me a favor. This is an international community. And so not only are we listening to Jeff's message and we're listening to me, but we also want to know about you. So make sure you post your first name, your last name, and where you're listening from, because we want other people to know who's connecting, who's showing up, and who's determined to make, watch this, every second count. Jeff, are you ready to get started?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. Well, just before we get started, there's a few more people I'm going to give a shout out to because they're showing up for us, Jeff. We got Robert Lyons. Thank you for showing up, Robert Lyons. We got Sonia Robinson from Grand Blanc, Michigan. We got Brent Michael Connors from Ohio. Man, thank you for tuning in. We got Auntie Omega Sil. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you. I mean, this is just going to be a great broadcast tonight. And so she's from Tampa, Florida. Listen, let's go ahead and get it started. Jeff, you just said that this is the anniversary of your automobile accident. Now, there's a few people that are on now that weren't on before. So do me a favor, reach back down and get that picture, get that poster board of that automobile that you were driving. And I need you to hold that up one more time.
All right.
Now I want you guys to look at this automobile, because Jeff was driving this automobile and he was blindsided by a semi. He was blindsided by a semi truck. Thank you, Jeff. Let's get into this. Jeff, let me ask you two questions. Number one, how old were you when this happened to you? Number one. And number two, what were you doing? Where were you at?
I was 17 years old, a junior in high school. And because I went to two separate schools, I had open lunch. And because I had open lunch, that meant we could go anywhere. And when we were to lunch that day, we were going to Wendy's, and a semi truck decided he wasn't going to stop at the red light. So when we pulled forward, and I was T-boned in the intersection.
And so you said we, but were you by yourself in the car?
No, I actually had a friend that's no longer with us, but his name is Brett Childs, and he actually broke his pinky finger in the accident, and he didn't realize it till later on that night.
Wow. So you're in the car. The car gets T-boned. You're at the intersection. The light turns green. You go forward. The semi doesn't stop. It hits you on the driver's side. So the passenger breaks his pinky finger, and he found out later, which means he was okay. What happened to you?
Well, I had a broken neck, a broken jaw, 2 fractured ribs, a ruptured spleen, and a punctured lung. Now, all those injuries were visible, but my worst injury was one that nobody could see, and it's the one that still affects me today, and it causes me to talk a little slow, walk a little slow, walk a little funky, talk a little funky. And that was a traumatic brain injury.
Wow. But you didn't know that, like these injuries that you're talking about, you didn't know that at the time. What actually happened to you, if I'm not mistaken, is the accident put you in a coma, correct?
Yes, I was in a coma for 2.5 months.
And you're in a coma for 2.5 months. And so you're in the hospital, you wake up out of this coma. And when you talk to the doctors, what were they saying about your prognosis? What did they tell you your life would be like?
Well, they told me that I might never walk again, that it was going to take a lot of work if I ever wanted to walk, if I ever wanted to talk, or if I ever wanted to even get out of bed.
So they said, man, for you to get out of bed again after being in a coma for 2.5 months, it's going to take a lot of work. Now, you heard that. And that must have been rough for you as a 17-year-old kid. You were an avid BMX biker. You said you was a BMX biker and you liked to bike 24/07. You were always on that bike. And so what was that like hearing them tell you that you would probably never walk again?
Well, I didn't. I heard them say it, but I didn't believe them.
Wow.
I experienced them saying it. I watched them saying it, but I didn't really believe them. But little did I know, part of my mind probably kind of believed them, but
Yeah.
the main part of my mind, the part that controls your heart, didn't let me believe them, because it knew that I had greatness hidden in here and it just had to get out.
I see that. So what they told you, hey, you may never walk again. And so what they told you is if you wanted to move or just be active, that you had to start rehab. And so you started going to rehab. Tell us what the rehab was like.
Rehab is very painful. And I happen to know you, Ruben, have been in rehab. So why don't you tell them a little bit about it first?
Yeah, well, my rehab was from my back surgery. And, I started out in pool therapy. Pool therapy, it was designed to take the weight off your body. So you're doing the exercises in the pool. And here was the interesting thing. The pool did take the weight off my body, but it didn't take the pain out of my body. And so even when I was in the pool, it was still painful. But here's what I know, that it wasn't going to be easy, but it would be worth it. And so I just focused on doing everything they said I should do, and then watch this, a little bit extra. So they always gave me what the minimum was. They said, hey, you got to walk back and forth across the pool. You got to put on these weights. You got to do these things. And they gave me that. But then I always did a little bit extra, because what I realized is I never wanted to do the minimum. I didn't want to just get back to where I was. I wanted to get back to better than where I was. And so I know in order to do that, I had to do more than just the minimum. And I'm sure as you looked at your rehab, which from a hospital bed, thinking, man, I may never walk again, you had to have some serious focus and determination to go through that rehab.
Yeah, rehab, it's not a lot of fun. It's a lot of hard work, and it's very painful, and it's extremely repetitive. And just like you said about doing a little more, when they would tell me to do something in therapy, I found it best if I always did a little more. And that was one of my early mottos, that I'm always going to do a little more, because when you just do the minimum effort, you just put that minimum effort out there, you're just going to get minimum results.
Oh, come on, Jeff. That's good. That's good. Minimum effort equals minimum results.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let me just say this as we keep going. Jennifer Harris, World Civility Ambassador, has joined us. Jennifer, thank you for tuning in. She said, you are amazing, Jeff. Hello, Dr. West. Hello. Again, Betty Speaks is here. Cheryl Clark from Topeka, Kansas, where Dare to Dream is watching us. Cheryl, we appreciate you tuning in. Dana Gwynn, she said, Jeff, we are so proud of you. So am I. Dana Hammond said, keep telling your story, Jeff. I mean, you have a lot of fans out there. They're very proud of you. And so am I. Terrence Leffridge, the unstoppable coach, originally from Chicago, he said, do more than just the minimum. The Auntie Omega said, do a little more. I love it. Roland Manning said, minimum effort produces minimum results. This is just very powerful. Jeff, let me ask you, you were in rehab. You were doing it for quite some time, and you experienced your first bit of success. What was the first bit of success for you in your rehab?
The first bit of success was just getting out of bed and getting into a wheelchair and letting somebody push me around in the wheelchair and being able to hold my feet up so they weren't dragging on the ground.
Yeah, wow. Now, and I want the people to listen to that, because imagine going from an avid BMX biker, 17 years old, you get hit by a semi, you're in a coma, you wake up, they tell you you'll never walk again, and then you put years into rehab, watch this, just to sit up and hold your feet up. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, you had a halo on your head to hold your neck up?
Yes.
To hold your head straight? I mean, this is a significant setback, and so that's why everybody on here is saying they're so proud of you. Looking at that car, that was a tremendous there was a tremendous effort that you put in to making this work for you. And so you got to the point where you were being pushed around in the wheelchair. And I have to ask you this question, Jeff. You're out of bed. You have somebody pushing you around. Yeah, it may not be what you want, but at least you're going around. At least you're mobile. At least you're holding your head up. Even if you have the halo on helping you hold your head up. Why did you keep going in rehab? I mean, you're already up and out of the bed, moving around.
Well, people would tell me that, hey, this is great. You're out of bed. You're moving around like you say. And people live like this every day. Excuse me. And they're happy. And they said, you can quit this therapy thing anytime. It's a hard saying that you'll ever get past where you are now. And I said,
and so
I don't know. I just kept going. Nobody was going to give me permission to stop, and I would not take that permission if they did give it to me.
Wow. Nobody would give you permission to quit. And even if they did, you wouldn't take it. And so tell me, what was the second level of success you had? So now you've been able to sit up. What's the second level of success?
The second level is probably when I started to get out of my wheelchair and walk on what they would call an evil walker. Now, an evil walker is essentially a heavy-duty walker that you put your arms on and you just put all your weight on it. So you're basically hanging from your arms, and you then walk kind of with your legs. But I was pretty much unable to stand, so they kind of had my dad hold me up the whole time.
Yeah. Wow. I love this, Jeff. It's so inspirational. Tara Wallace said, give yourself permission to keep going no matter what it looks like to everyone else. Ronald Kozacek said, never give up. And his wife, Dr. Christine Kozacek said, you're amazing, Jeff Marconette. And so they have you on the evil walker. You've been in rehab for years. And what was the next step? I mean, why did you keep going after that? Why go to rehab? You're up, you're on a walker. I mean, wasn't that good enough?
Well, again, they told me that I could stop this therapy thing anytime. That I was up and kind of walking around, but still riding in a wheelchair for most of the time. And people lived every day like that. Still going to therapy, but they were happy with where they were. They were content. And you see, I think being content it's a curse.
Wow.
If you're content, you're not pushing yourself to grow anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
I just didn't get content, and I kept going and kept going and kept going. Just like you said, always do a little more. I didn't take that little more for granted. I always did a lot more. And oftentimes when I did a lot more, I would do so at the risk of my own body, and I would get hurt quite a bit. But that was all right because,
Yeah.
like, darn it, like Randolph Brooks said in the comments, he said, "No pain, no gain," and that's true.
Right. Very much so. That very much so. So Jeff, here you are. You're finally getting to the point where you can get up. You're on this walker. You're walking. You're still in rehab. You're refusing to quit, and that's notable. What I call that is the champion mindset. You said, "Hey, it hurts, and I think I may be doing it to the risk of my body." And we know that that's the champion mindset. I mean, look at people who play NFL football. You know, they're doing it at the risk to their body. Look at people who do BMX motocross. Guess what? They're doing it at a risk to their body. Championship Olympic skiing. They're doing it at a risk to their body. Boxing, martial arts. They're doing it at a risk to your body. And so even though all you were trying to do is get to be good again, get to walk again, you're still doing it with the championship mindset, and you're still doing it to the risk of your body. Jeff, let me ask you a question. How long was it before you were able to walk again unassisted? How many years were you in rehab?
That I'm not sure of. I really am bad with that, because when you're experiencing things every day,
Yeah.
it doesn't stick. A lot of it doesn't stick, and you often don't see progress. I mean, you can see progress over the long run, but in short little periods of time, you don't see progress.
Not in the short term. Yeah. You know, that's an interesting phenomenon, Jeff, because this is the new year. And so everybody makes New Year's resolutions. And they say that most people quit their New Year's resolutions by the 19th of January. And I believe that the reason that they quit is exactly what you just said, that they're always making progress. Guess what? If you go to the gym one day and work out, you changed your body. You just changed it in such a minute way that you can't see it on the outside. But wait till tomorrow, you're going to be sore, you're going to be stiff. Well, guess what? You're making progress, but because they don't see the progress fast enough, they quit. And so, Jeff, let me ask you, how long have you been in rehab?
I have been in rehab now for 18 years. It started basically day one that I got to the hospital. So it was basically 18 years.
So you've been in rehab for 18 years. Now I'm talking to somebody right now, somebody who's has that New Year's resolution, who's tried to change themselves, change their life. Here's a person who's been in rehab for 18 years. Watch this. Just to walk normal again. For 18 years. And it's going to come to a point where you can quit and people will give you permission to quit. That's what Jeff Marconette said. He said, people will offer you permission to quit, but you don't have to take it. Jeff, let me ask you a question. Why is it after 18 years of rehab, are you still going to rehab? You can walk now unassisted, just like the rest of us. Why are you still going to rehab?
Well, first of all, let me say that my walking does not look like everybody else's. My walking is still rather funky, and I did let's think here. That I want to run. And I don't want to accept anybody's permission not to run. I know I'm going to get hurt. I know I'm going to cause myself pain. I know I'm going to cause myself injuries. But I'll accept that because I want to run. I want to be like everybody else and just be able to run.
Right. And let me tell you this, Jeff. this is something I gotta say because this just came to me. Dr. Brooks said champions play in spite of the pain. You said I want to be like everybody else and run, and honestly, you may never run like everybody else, but in the meantime, in the process, you're developing a spirit that most people don't have. Muhammad Ali, who's known as one of the greatest boxers that ever lived, he said, I hated every moment in the gym, but I said, suffer now and live the rest of my life as a champion. And if I know anybody personally that demonstrated or illustrated that champion mindset is Jeff Marconette Jr., who said, hey, I've been in rehab for 18 years just to walk normal again, because I want to run again. And I'm doing it because I deserve it. And so that has to be a lesson to the people listening right now, that whatever you want, it's there for you, but you have to have the mindset to go after it and work for it. Will it be easy? I hope not. You know why? Because if it was easy, then everybody would be doing it. I heard Les Brown said, if you do what is easy, then your life will be hard. But if you do what is hard, then your life will be easy. And so, Jeff, I have to commend you on taking these steps. But one of the things you told me when we were talking earlier is that when you went through these experiences and when you went through this rehab, and here it is, all these years later, you've learned some things from this car accident. Excuse me, I heard you say that there was 5 things that you learned from this experience. And so I want to take the time to share this with the people who are watching right now. And we have a full house still watching us, Jeff. And so what I want each person to do is, number one, make sure you share this video, because this video is going to empower someone, it's going to change someone's life. There's someone struggling with something right now and they're on the verge of giving up. And they've got to hear that he was willing to go 18 years just to be normal, not to be in the Olympics, just to be normal. They've got to hear that. And they've got to hear that, what did he say? They can measure what's up here. They can measure what's in my head, measure what was in my heart. And so it's work that keeps him going. So make sure you share this. And he's about to give his 5 takeaways. And here's what I want everybody listening to do for me, please. As he gives each takeaway, please post it in the feed. You know why? Because your takeaway could be someone else's big breakthrough. And so, Jeff, as you think about that first principle that you learned in this time, in this anniversary, what's the first thing you've learned?
Well, I didn't really have to think too hard about this, because it's something that I preach all the time. And that's, as people today, we take too much for granted. There were so many things that I wasn't able to do it at the time that I was able to do before. And I took a lot of that stuff for granted. So the first one has to be, we take too much for granted.
Yeah. And I want everybody listening to this to think about that. That's extremely powerful, especially from somebody who has a second chance at life. They usually can give us a perspective that sometimes we miss out on. They said, be careful, because sometimes the little things become the big things. And so for us, walking and talking and doing those are the little things. But to someone who's been through Jeff's experience, they become the big things. So the first thing I want you to put in the feed is, don't take the little things for granted. And that's very important. Jeff, if you think about the second thing that you've learned from this experience, because we're talking about 5, what's the second thing that you've learned?
In life, we always want more, but many of us aren't grateful for what we have. So like I wanted to run, but the thing is, I have legs. The thing is, I had hands, I had fingers. I was still able to do so much that I didn't have to run. I had so much more that I could do that I wasn't thankful for. So you have to be thankful before you can ever get any more.
Yeah. Wow. Listen to that. I mean, somebody has to be feeling this message. And the second point is just simply be thankful for what you have. Auntie Omega, Mother Seal, put in the feed. Don't take the little things for granted. Tracy said, be thankful. Jeremy Jones said, kudos, Jeff. Never give up, buddy. Wish you the best. Tara Wallace said, don't take the little things for granted. I mean, they're feeling this message, Jeff. So powerful. I agree that sometimes we aren't thankful. And so we're learning a lot from this message. We're sharing this message. If you have to sum up your third point, what's the third thing you've learned after 18 years of rehab from this experience that you didn't ask for?
Well, I think the third point that I've learned is that a lot of us, just like the first step, take things for granted. And I think one of the biggest things we take for granted is that life is a gift. We should celebrate every second of it, because it's never promised, and it can end like in a second from now. It can end so fast. It can all just be taken away, that you have to celebrate every second. So there's 86,400 seconds in a day. You don't have to make them all count, but you have to make them all add up to something that counts, and celebrate that.
Wow, that's powerful. He said, even if you don't make them all count, make them add up to something that does count. Man, somebody's got to be putting, Jeff, this is a powerful message. It's one that I know resonates with me. Here's what I want you to do if you're listening right now. And thank you for putting these in the feed. But I also want you to think about what group, what organization, what school, what hospital, who do you know that you know would benefit from hearing this message? Who do you know that if he could speak to them and share what he's been through, it would give them a new burst of energy? Is it a sports team? Because they could use it. Who do you know? I want you to think about that. And at the end, I'm going to ask you to reach out to Jeff. But right now, Jeff, I want to go to the fourth point. What's the fourth thing that you feel like you've learned from this experience?
Well, it's the point that Ronald made earlier in the comments, that you can never give up on yourself. Because if I would have given up on myself when I was in the wheelchair, I would still be in a wheelchair today. If I had given up on myself when I was walking with a walker, I would still be walking with a walker today. And I'm not. So you can never, ever, ever give up on yourself.
Listen, that has to be a message to somebody right now. Whether it's wanting to go back to school, whether it's wanting to get your finances in order, whether it's wanting to have love again, because there's people who mistook a life partner and it was actually a life lesson, and they said, hey, I'm over, that's no longer for me. It's not true. What Jeff just said is, no matter what it is, you can't give up on yourself. You can't do it. Because if he would have said, hey, as far as I could go as a walker, he'd still be on a walker. That's so powerful. He would still be on a walker, but because he believed, the doctor said you'll never walk again. He believed, not when what happened to other people, he believed in the possibilities for his life. And in that belief, it's literally changed his mindset. And his new mindset, make every second count. And how is he making it count? By having this show right here. And so I want to say thank you to every person that's tuned in right now on this show. But remember what Jeff just said. Don't give up on yourself. Somebody's putting that in the feed. Jeff, the fifth thing that you figured out from this life-changing, life-altering experience is what?
The fifth step is make every second count. And I know that's the name of the show, and it is kind of cliche, but it's true because make every second count embodies all of those messages. Make every second count can mean something different to everyone and can mean something different in every situation. But we need to, all right, we need to not take things for granted. We need to be thankful for what we already have. We need to celebrate life because it is a gift, and stop taking that gift for granted. And then you can never, ever, ever, ever give up on yourself because remember, there's greatness inside you and it just wants to show its head to the world.
I love it. I love it. Dr. Randy Brooks said, if you give up on yourself, you're giving others to give up on you as well. So that's so powerful. Jeff, these have been some tremendous, powerful principles, but I think the best thing about your story is the way you live every single day. Excuse me. The best thing about your story is you're willing to get up and go to the gym on a routine and regular basis, regardless of how awkward it seems, regardless of how awkward it feels, and regardless of how awkward you look. I think the best thing about your story is you're willing to encourage other people to make every single second count. The best thing about your story is it didn't just make you bitter, it made you better. I didn't know you when you were a BMX biker. I didn't know you when you were in high school. I didn't know that Jeff Marconette Jr., but I do know this one. And there's something about this one that's different than other people that I know, because there's people who can move better than you can. There's people who can speak better than you can. There's people who can articulate better than you can. There's people who could work out if they wanted to, and they could go to the gym and do it better than you can. But you know what, Jeff? They don't do it. And so there's something I know about you, is that you're willing to make every single second count. There's a saying, people say, look on the bright side. You're the bright side. You're the bright side. Hey, listen, if you're out there right now, I want you to do me a favor. I know there's someone in your area who could benefit from hearing Jeff's message. There's some group at the school. There's some sport, some company that's performing at a mediocre level. There's some business and sales team that are performing at a mediocre level, and all they need to be told is like, look, that there's a level of you that's deep down inside of you that most people never even tap into. And I believe that if they heard a message from Jeff Marconette Jr. from Piqua, Ohio, who had everything going for him, an avid BMX biker, 17 years old, on his way to lunch from one school to another school, and gets T-boned by a semi, told he probably never walk again. And he's been in rehab for 18 years. I think there's some lessons that would be learned from hearing him speak live. And so I want you to think about that. And I want you to message. You could message me. You can message him. He's on Facebook. Let's click Jeff Marconette Jr. and say, hey, Jeff, I'd like to help you get an engagement in my area. If you're willing to do that, because I really believe somebody's life would be changed by his message. And so if you've heard his message today and it inspired you, and you could see him setting that poster of that car up on a board and talking to the people in the audience and inspiring them to the next level, I want you to help that. Tara Wallace said Jeff will be speaking at the high schoolers in Topeka, Kansas, the week of March 5th. Our organization is working on a community event in the evening. If someone is interested in collaborating, man, that's absolutely fantastic. You said March 5th, man. I'm going to see if I can make that, Tara Wallace. And thank you for putting that out there. Who else is willing to put their information out there to help bring Jeff to their community, to help change lives for the people that sometimes don't appreciate what's happening every single day? If you're willing to do that, make sure you reach out to us. Jeff, I want to say thank you for having me on your show. It's a fantastic show, but what makes the show the best is your attitude. Is your attitude that is not what happens to me, it's how I respond to what happens to me.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, your response is an inspiration to me. And so, Jeff, do you have any final thoughts for the people listening, and then I'll close out the show?
Well, I just want to take a minute here and say thank you to you, Ruben, that you have really changed my life, and you have opened a lot of doors for me and done a lot of things for me, and I truly appreciate all that you have done. But more than just you, I appreciate everybody on here.
Yeah.
I appreciate all the fans that I have around this country, around this world. I appreciate all the support, all the love, all the thoughts, all the prayers that they give me, because that feeds me. And by having this show, I'm trying to feed you guys. I want to help other people in the world. My life is not all about me. My life is about serving. And I just want you guys to do me a favor. I want you to remember that you need to make every second count. Why? Because you never know when the seconds are going to run out on your one life.
Powerful. Wow. Hey, you guys heard it. It's Jeff Marconette Jr. Make every second count. Why? Because you never know when those seconds are going to run out. Watch this, on your one life. There is no second chance. You don't get a do-over. You just have to be out there doing. And so give and serve and do and be. And I'm going to leave you with this quote from Mother Teresa. She said, it's not just how much you do, but how much love you put into doing. It's not about how much you give, but how much love you put into giving. And I'm going to say it's not how much you live, but how much love you put into living. Don't just count the days. Make the days count. I'm Dr. Ruben West. This has been Jeff Marconette Jr. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, Tara. Thank you, Roland Manny. Thank you, Alitris Owens. Thank you, Ron Kozacek and Penny Lee and Sonia Robinson and Auntie Omega. Thank you, Greg Dillon. Thank you, Kim Schimmel. Thank you, Lisa Elliott DeDonder, one of my high school friends. Thank you, Tara Wallace. Thank you, Betty Speaks. I mean, I'm trying to thank everybody. I won't get to everybody. Thank you, Randy Brooks, for being on. I mean, I appreciate you guys taking the time to come on. Thank you, Kim Schimmel. Thank all of you, Gene Casiano. I appreciate the fact that you took the time to come on. Thank you, Sonia Robinson and Emilio Romaine. Thank you, Tommy Lee. Thank each and every one of you for coming on. And we're going to sign off. But here's what I know. Somebody's life will be better because of this broadcast. So if you haven't shared it, make sure you share it. And then if you know of an organization or a group that would benefit from hearing Jeff come in and speak, do us a favor, because you're not doing it for me, you're doing it for them. You will still get credit for helping them change their lives in the end, because I think we all have to answer for the things we've done, and we all have to answer for the things we didn't do. And so share this post, share this message, and think about who in your area would benefit from hearing a powerful message from Jeff Marconette Jr. This is Ruben West, Jeff Marconette Jr. saying, make every second count. We're out. Thank you, guys.